Thanks for being with us and welcome inside the broadcast booth. Paul Burmeister, Anthony Herron, Lewis Johnson with us on the field. Well, the Bayou Classic has always had feeling and history, but today we add significance and meaning. The winner of today's game will play in the conference championship next week. Anthony, how did Grambling go from one win a year ago to one win away from a division title?
That's the question that opponents around the SWAC have been asking throughout the season, and that question really starts and stops with Tiger alum Broderick Fobbs. He came in and brought leadership to this program at a level that they haven't had in a number of years, up now for the Eddie Robinson Award, such a prestigious honor, one of only 20 coaches in the country. But offensively, he had to make a major decision during the season, and he put Jonathan Williams at the quarterback position. And Williams would be leading the SWAC in total offense if he had enough starts this season. Doesn't like the term dual threat quarterback, so Paul, I'm going to call him a dual weapon.
Grambling found a way to turn it around this season in a huge way. Southern, the other sideline, they found a way to stay on top. They came into this season as defending champions.
They did, and Dawson Odom's a guy in year two who's now sort of cemented himself as one of the top coaches at the FCS level. But Odom's had his own reclamation project last season where he had to revive this Southern program. How he's done it is with tough defense, but on the offensive side of the football.
Great expectations entered the season with Arizona State. After a slow start, they got it rolling for a bit, but suffered some near misses in recent weeks. 3 out of their 4 wins have come at home, though, so this return to Sun Devil Stadium is right on time for Todd Graham. Their opponent today sports an identical 4-5 record as Washington brings one of the Pac-12's best defenses to Tempe. If they can win 2 out of their final 3 games, then Chris Peterson could secure back-to-back bowl trips in his first 2 seasons with the Huskies. Postseason potential looms large as Arizona State hosts Washington in 1 hour on the Pac-12 Network. The first team with you again here on the Pac-12 pregame show presented by 76. I'm Anthony Herron alongside former USC All-American Curtis Conway, legendary Oregon defensive coordinator, and helped get UCLA to a Rose Bowl in '98 as well, Mr. Nick Aliotti and Jeremy Bloom, one of the great dual sport athletes this nation has ever seen. Guys, we know all the college football playoff discussion has been taking place with those polls coming out over the last couple of weeks. How confident are you, Curtis, that a one-loss Pac-12 team right now, we'd be talking about Stanford or Utah, that a one-loss, and then, of course, the final score presented by Microsoft with Mike Yam and the crew. But before we get to any of that tasty goodness, we got to talk to Kevin Calabro and Yogi Roth. They will be on the call with UW versus Arizona State. A couple of quarterbacks in this game with very interesting and really different storylines, guys. So, Kevin, as you guys head into this broadcast today, how do you see the quarterback situation potentially playing out?
Well, you know, Mike Bercovici, here he is a senior. He's been very patient.
It feels like a long time ago, but I remember 27 years ago, I cried when I told Bill Snyder I was going to Iowa instead of Kansas State. He did not cry. That was maybe a sign of things to come. What do you remember about telling Nick Saban no at Michigan State and Hayden Fry yes?
Well, we're both wearing pink ties, so I am comfortable after you've said it to admit that I did cry as well. So that's one of my memories that sticks out to me. But the pressure that's on these players today, when you add in social media, the schools wanting them to declare so early in the process, that's changed over the last couple of decades since you and I have been involved in this process, but the talent has certainly changed as well, Paul. Bigger, stronger, faster across the board.
Especially at the quarterback position. From the moment we started learning about this year's class, a lot of raving about the quarterbacks. Let's begin with the top-rated quarterback in this game, the U.S. Army National Player of the Year from Lake Stevens, Washington, Jacob Eason.
The arm talent just jumps off the screen when you watch him on film, and then when you see him in person, it's even more impressive. So the tangibles are there, but the intangibles with Jacob Eason are even more impressive. Maturity beyond his years, and believe it or not, Paul, he's actually going to be reporting to Athens, Georgia on Monday. He's got a big, versatile target who's going to be on the outside working with him today. The #1 tight end.
Yogi Roth about this. It looked like a sea of black and gold outside of the stadium. What's the level right now for Hawkeye Nation of excitement?
Yammer, there's no doubt in my mind the excitement is thick. I'd even go palpable, and you see a lot more Stanford folks, the band, and some of the luminaries starting to enter the stadium at this point. That sort of sojourn has been going on from Iowa City all throughout the course of the week to get folks here to Pasadena. And there was actually an ice storm that happened in Iowa City and around the state of Iowa earlier in the week. So there's a few folks that couldn't make it on the airplanes they had flying through Chicago. So a lot of folks ended up just getting in the car and driving cross country to get here to Pasadena.
The interesting thing is Iowa's really been playing up this underdog card for pretty much the entire season. So what's that thing that Iowa does on the football field that maybe Stanford fans haven't seen just yet that should have the Cardinal worried?
Well, Mike, Ashley actually did a good job yesterday. They had the kickoff luncheon, and she was emceeing it and asking Kirk Ferentz a few questions, and Mike Hall from the Big Ten Network did as well. They talked a bit about New Kirk, and one of the things defensively that Kirk Ferentz allowed his defensive coordinator, Phil Parker, to do this season, because there weren't a lot of great pass rushes up front, they hit blocks really well on the defensive line for the Iowa Hawkeyes, but they don't get after the quarterback that effectively as individuals, so they put a Raider package on the field on 3rd and long. It was a new addition this season, something Iowa really hasn't done in years past. They bring a bunch of linebackers onto the field to add some speed to the feet of the offensive blockers and not only be able to physically pressure the opposing quarterback, but add some of that mental pressure as well because they're all up in 2-point stances. I think about my time at Iowa, we never got to do anything fun like that. But Nigel can talk about it in great detail where when you can't tell where you're threatening the offensive pass protection because of the look of the defensive front, it doesn't just allow you to get home with that physical pressure, but the mental pressure it puts on a quarterback like Kevin Hogan. You need to try to seek every advantage that you can. That is most certainly something that experienced pass protection from Stanford will have to pay attention to today.